Let the record reflect, it's 4:35, and I'll open this work session at the Greenville City Council. And first item to be discussed is Texas Fed Investment Update Review.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So, as a reminder, Deep Blue Investment Advisors, we've been working with Texas Fit, one of our investment pools, for I think almost maybe 2 or 3 years now, and so we contracted them to be our investment advisors about a year ago, and so every year we like to have them come out and give kind of the annual performance review, get before council and kind of do a thorough evaluation, high level of that. So Ken Couch, I'll let him introduce the full Deep Blue team, but he's going to go ahead and review this high level with us today. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being here, Ken.
Thank you, Mayor and honorable council members. My name is Ken Couch. I'm from the San Antonio, Texas area, so work with a lot of our Texas clients, and we manage about $2 billion here in Texas. We also operate in Florida, so my colleagues that are with me is Dominic Cristofaro. He's our Director of Investment Advisory Services, and then John Scott, who is one of our associates on Investment Advisory Services. They're fortunate, they cover 2 states, Florida and Texas. So they flew from 60-something degree Florida this morning to be here to the 40-degree Texas. So, but just a little background of who we are, because this is our first time to present to you. Deep Blue Investment Advisors, we are an independent investment advisory firm. We're not a broker-dealer. We are not a bank. We are a true independent investment advisor, which means we're offering advice to the city. There is no ulterior motive. We are not commission sales guys either. So it is pure relationship business that I've had 27 years here in Texas with. So today what we're going to go over is the most recent quarterly investment report. I'm going to let Dominic go through that, as he has worked closely with GP on the investments, as well as some of the maturities for the portfolio and some of the strategies as well, especially, it's on the table, not to take any away from Dominic's version here, but it's on the table, another Fed cut coming next week. And it depends on who you talk to. There's possibly more next year as well. But I'm going to let Dominic kind of go through the performance for you. And as we always say to our council members or board members we meet with, you want the long version or the short version? Most of them say give us the short version. So
I'll take the short today.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to make it the short version. Just a little bit of my background since I'm new. I've been in the investment business for about 31 years. I spent 7 years at a city government, and most recently about years at the school district. So I've been on your side of the table, so I just wanted to give you that information.
Did you enjoy it?
I loved it, yes. And I love what I do here because I get to serve, again, cities and school districts, which are very near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to move forward. This is obviously the quarter report as of September 30th. We'll move to page 4. I wanted to point out here a couple of things. This is the executive summary. This page is really is a quick snapshot if you wanted to get an idea what's going on in the market, what's going on in your portfolios, as well as the strategies at our company. You can look at this page and sort of get a snapshot summary of this whole report. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus first in the middle section. There says portfolio summary. As you can see for the quarter, the portfolio earned total investments. This is what we manage separately, as well as all the pools, earned over $4.3 million for the quarter. So had an excellent quarter. The managed portfolio, which is the portfolio of treasuries and agencies that we manage, returned about 1.35 for the quarter, and the benchmark was about 2%. So it slightly underperformed the benchmark. Partly has to do with the portfolio slightly shorter than the benchmark. The benchmark is almost at a year, and we're a little bit shorter. And as we're starting to build this portfolio, so eventually we'll get there. So typically when interest rates are coming down, a longer portfolio will do better. So that's why for the quarter we have a little bit of underperformance. However, if you look at the yield for the portfolio, we were at 4.06 at the end of the quarter, and the benchmark was at 3.98, so slightly higher yield. Portfolio is very, very high quality, AA+, okay? Moving forward, we'll talk a little bit about the economy. Ken kind of mentioned that the Fed is looking to cut rates. As we know, Recently, in September, the Fed cut 50 basis points. It was the first cut that they've had in a while since they started raising rates back in 2022. And then subsequent to that, in November, right after the election, they moved another 25 basis points down. Now the probability, we're looking at, the market thinks about 80 to 86% that we're going to have another cut. What are the things the Fed is looking at? Number one is, what is the economy doing? One of the things is, they notice if you look at the GDP number for the third quarter, it was up 2.8%, so it was a very strong number. Typically, if we get anywhere between 1.8 and 2%, it's good in the economy. We're at 2.8, so the economy is humming right along. One of the things that the Fed also looks at is jobs. How's the job market doing? We recently saw a little bit of a weakening in the job market, so that was a little bit of concern to them, and that's why they kind of sort of fast-paced a little bit the cuts in September. A lot of people initially were expecting 25, but they did 50, and they did another 25, and so that's why I think we're on the table for at least another 25. Also, inflation. Inflation still is a bit sticky, about 2.6%. We had a little bit of a bump up in November from October. And a lot of that really still has to do with housing. Housing continues to be a very sticky part of the inflation number. And that's going to take a while for it to work itself. Houses don't get built quickly, so it's going to take a little while for that pressure in the housing market. Okay? Do you have any questions as far as economic outlook or anything like that?
I do have a question from the first page.
Yeah.
Where you say that the portfolio returned 1.35%.
Yeah.
And had a yield of 4.06. So how are you defining return and yield there?
So the yield is basically the yield on the securities that you purchase. The return takes into account the income, so the interest, plus the fluctuation in the price.
Okay.
Of those bonds.
So yield is an aggregate number.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll move forward. I won't touch on page 6. Page 6 basically gives you a sort of a snapshot with the fixed income markets. All I'll say is that you see a lot of green here for the third quarter. That is naturally what's going to happen when rates get cut. Fixed income investments go positive, and so if you see here, third quarter was very positive for the fixed income markets. On page 7, what I want to touch on is the 5 themes sort of for what we look at our investment strategy. One of the things that we look at when we look at investments is what is the spread of other securities, other bonds versus treasuries. Right now, the spread between treasuries and what you get paid for, say, in commercial paper or agencies has been very tight. So we've been really recommending that we stick with treasuries. There's no reason to take risk above treasuries if you're not getting paid. So really up to now, we've been staying. Hopefully, in the new year, we'll see some of that yield, that spread start to widen. At that point, we'll start to look at other things. But for the meantime, we've been really staying in treasuries. We've also been locking in yields where we can. If we can lock in on a yield 1.5 years out, we really want to take advantage of that. One of the things that we look at is non-callable securities. Why do we do that? Because if you lock in on a 4.5% and you have a callable bond and rates go down to 3.75, that bond's going to be called away for you. So in order to protect the income of the portfolio, we're looking at bonds that are not callable and trying to lock in on those yields, okay? We stay, as I mentioned, high quality. Treasuries has been the place to be. And then with our investment portfolio, we can extend the duration, the maturities of the portfolio. We're doing so we can continue to lock in further down the line, okay? Any questions on the portfolio strategy? Okay. You move forward to page 10. This is a very important page. This is your compliance summary. This looks at how your investments compare to your investment policy and to the state policy, right? So if you look at the column that says in compliance, you can see that it says yes down the board. That's what you want to see. Your investments are in complete compliance with your investment policy. Okay, so it's very good for your auditors to see. Any questions with respect to that page? Okay. The next page gives you a similar snapshot of compliance, but it's more from an individual issuer standpoint. We want to make sure if we're investing in different things that it's not concentrated in any one thing and that it meets the policy. Again, if you look at column in compliance, you can see that it says yes across the board there. So your portfolio is in compliance from an individual issuer standpoint also, okay? I won't cover page 12, I'll only say that's your full investment policy. That's everything that's allowed, the maturity, the percentages, and the rating requirements for every security that we're allowed to purchase for you, okay? Okay. We'll move forward to page 15 like that. We'll talk about the portfolio that we manage for you. If you look at the short-term account, which is the portfolio of different individual securities that we work with GP to manage, you can see that the total market value plus any accrued interest was just under $8 million, $7.96 million. To the left, you can see, as I mentioned earlier, the duration of the portfolio is about 0.34, and the benchmark is 0.96. It's a one-year treasury benchmark, so the duration's 1 year. It's a little bit shorter right now. As we bring more cash into the account, we'll be able to extend that duration and get it closer to the benchmark. And as I mentioned, the yield, if you look on the next line, 4.056 versus 3.982 on the index, okay? Again, the credit quality of the portfolio, AA+. In this portfolio, just these securities earned about $81.3 million. I'm sorry, $81,367 for the quarter, okay? You can see how the portfolio is currently allocated or diversified among U.S. government securities. Those are treasuries at 61.8%, followed by some agency bonds, 28.4%, and then some cash, that's some residual class. And those are usually income payments and things like that then get reinvested, okay?
Is an agency bond a corporate bond, is that?
An agency bond is a U.S. government bond that's issued by one of the agencies. So it's,
okay.
so for example, like a Ginnie Mae or those Freddie Mac, those kind of securities, some have the full faith of backing of the government, and some have the, implicit backing of the government. If something happens, you know that the government is going to step in. You can see the maturity distribution. Primarily, most of your securities are now under 6 months, although we have some stuff that's a little bit longer. Any questions on the portfolio characteristics? Okay. Page 16 is the full performance. This gives you the performance for the quarter and as well as other time periods. As I mentioned earlier, the quarter 1.35 versus the benchmark at 2.03. And since inception, which was about not quite a year yet, 10/25 of last year, 4.4 versus 5.48. Okay, so this has been a year where we're transitioning the portfolio, and also with the duration being a little bit shorter, it's not going to do as well as rates come down. And when we had rates going up, usually this portfolio performs. So as we start to get money into this portfolio, we'll continue to extend the duration. But the key is to keep in mind that the returns at the end of the day, these securities, we hold them. So even when we purchase a security, we're not active traders. In other words, we're not selling a security at a loss to buy something else. So typically, if you have a security that's worth less than what in the market, by the end it matures at par. So you really don't lose anything. It's really the income that you want to pay attention to, which is that 4.06. Okay. Okay, last thing is, the last couple pages, won't go through all the detail of those. Basically, those are for your review. If you have any questions, certainly let GP know or myself. Page 17 is your holdings. Those are the individual bonds that are currently being held in the portfolio. You can see the agency bonds. So if you see those Federal Home Loan bonds, and then the treasuries. And then on the next page is really just the transactions that have occurred during the month, whether it's reinvestments, coupon payments, interest payments, things like that. So that pretty much sums up the quarterly performance for the quarter. Any questions?
Any questions? certainly appreciate your presentation. Coming all the way from Florida today, my goodness.
No problem. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Travel today's a butt whipping.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, the next item on the agenda, thank you very much for being here tonight. I appreciate you. Item 2B, construction update and presentation on the Reese Davis Rec Center, Sports Park Recreation Center, and Emergency Operations. Who wants to go first? Brett? Brett, it's going to be, you draw straws?
He's got Dalmatians, so he probably go last. Mayor, Council, so we'll give you a quick update on, yeah, that usually helps, doesn't it? There we go. So we'll give you a quick bond update for the rec center project. We'll start with Reese Davis and the expansion. So this is, they've already started framing. We've already kind of demoed all the interior of the existing facility, and so we've started framing, getting the framing done, and this was done last week, so they're even further ahead. That whole room right there is already framed out, so they'll work pretty quick on the interior of the existing facility. The gym, where the floor came out, all the vents, HVAC stuff came out, so all that's demoed. And then storm drainage, which is probably the largest piece of that project, is running the storm drainage from the back of the building over by College all the way over on the other side of Carver, off of College. And then we did some utility tie-ins, which we couldn't have done without Chris and Public Works and engineering, getting that timed out where it didn't affect GISD school bus route. So we did that the week that they were out for Thanksgiving. And then there's the shared drive tie-in. So we're getting ready. They're still finishing up some drainage pipe over there by the playground off Morgan. But as soon as that gets in the ground, then they'll start building that shared drive to connect Morgan and College. And then there's the pad cap. So that kind of gives you an idea of the size of the of what we're adding on. So it looks a lot bigger than it did in the image. So. And then sports park, this is the real impressive one in terms of how quick they got stuff done. So this is soccer field lights. We got those installed. We had them installed for our state flag football tournament that we had in November. So that worked out perfectly. And then looking towards the high school for Monty Stratton, you can kind of see the layout. You got the pad cap, the tan area up there. That'll be where the building sits. Parking.
What's the pad cap?
That's where the building's going to sit.
Okay.
And then you got Robin Road up to the top left, and then you've got the event lawn area over there on the right. And then looking from PJC back across the sports park, kind of see where Robin Road's going to be. And I put a red line across the pad cap there, just kind of illustrate everything on the left side of that's going to be gymnasium. Everything on the right will be the offices, pool, etc. Game room. And then new parking lot is already poured out there, so they got that done pretty quick, and then started the pump track. We ran into a little geotech issue, but we got that resolved, so they've already resumed. The initial geotech report called for 3.5 foot deep, and we had to come back and go 8 foot deep and moisture condition it. So they've started back on that, so that should finish up pretty quick. And then just another view of the parking lot and where the pump track's going to be. And then, so the piers, there's 211 piers on this pad site that range in depth from 100 feet deep to 80 foot deep on the backside. And everywhere you see an orange flag, that's a pier, a 3 foot pier, be 3 foot wide, and then the depth down. And so you can kind of see those are the cages that go inside those piers that they pour into. And so they're doing right now, they started out with one truck, they were doing 5 a day. And so they brought in 2 or 3 more trucks, try to get 15 to 20 a day. And what they do is they come in, bore it out in the morning, it gets inspected. If there's any moisture, they're allowing them to pump it out versus using the pier casings. So they haven't had to use any pier casings yet, which is a good sign. And then they bring the trucks in that afternoon and they fill it right then with concrete. And get all that inspected. So, and that's it for for the bond side of it. So, any questions? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Maybe. There we go. All right, just give you guys kind of the same thing. We're just going to update some of our progress we've got going on with the administration facility. There's kind of a concept picture. All of you have seen that one before. Here's another kind of overall footprint. Up to the north there is PJC, just to give you an idea of kind of where it's going to be and what it'll look like. Overhead view of the facility. I think this will give you a little bit of aid in identifying some of the areas that you'll see in just a minute, kind of where they are and what they look like. So back in October is when we started on this project. What you're seeing here is just the soil conditioning for the pads. This one is for the actual administration building. If you remember, we have 3 buildings out there: the administration EOC building, support building that will have an engine in, along with emergency operations supplies. And then we also have our training facility. So there'll be 3 buildings total out there. Let's give you an idea, just like Brett was talking about, what the piers look like. They did a little bit different type of piers here in that they used, what you see there is just a big auger, and they drill those piers down, and they averaged around 60 feet for those. Once that auger gets down to its predetermined depth, once they start pulling it out, they fill in with concrete as they pull out. And so it's a little bit different method. It's kind of neat. It's the first time I've seen that done in that particular manner before, so that was neat to see. But what you see in the top right corner up there is the finished project, or the finished product, I guess. Moving into November. So at this point, we've got all the piers poured. We're starting to work on grade beams, and that's what you're seeing here. On the right side of the picture, that's going to be the administration building. And on the left side over there, where they're actually pouring concrete, will be building B. And just north of that will be the actual training tower. And you can kind of roughly see how the road will go around the whole facility in that picture. Here is a picture of the grade beams at the administration building after they got poured. It's just kind of an up close picture of that. Those beams? Those beams are probably a couple of feet. They're not that deep. They're probably more than a couple of feet. They're maybe about 6 feet deep. Yeah, they're not as deep as. When we talk about piers, those are the ones that go down real deep, but the beams themselves aren't. They may be 6 feet deep.
When they go down 60 feet, say, do they ever hit bedrock at all?
Not here. Well, not on our project.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what they did, the engineers, they'll go do a geotech study, like what Brett was talking about earlier, and then they'll design those piers. And so what they did on this particular project is they came out, poured 2 piers, let them set for a couple of days, and then they did what they call a friction test. They basically go out there and apply pressure to those piers to see if they slip. And that's kind of how they check their work, if you will. But here, no. Brett might have had a couple that went to bedrock. I don't know if they did, but more than likely not around here. Now you get in Collin County, yeah, you're gonna hit some rock. But with our particular soils that we have here, I don't know of any place. Brett, did y'all hit in bedrock?
Yes.
Y'all did?
Yeah, everything under the pole.
And that's why they went down. They had to go down 100
That
feet.
deep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course. I piled it. I didn't. I did it. Yep, I messed it up. Midas touch. Keep going. I'll go back. I think we're going. There we go. Now let's go forward one. So this is a view from the west side of the facility back towards the high school. Just kind of wanted to give you that look. Nothing real special about it. You'll see in the foreground, that's going to be our retention pond and where it drains off. But it also gives you kind of a scale of the area that we have out there, and that we have room to grow, especially from our training side. If PJC, hopefully they get on board with this, and they move forward with what they originally talked about, wanting to do training in the fire service. It gives us plenty of room to grow. And so just kind of gives you an idea of the potential there. I think I did that. Couple of things here, especially the picture on the bottom. I know it's kind of, it looks like an archaeological site more than anything else. But if you'll notice, if you can see the manholes, the little square manhole areas there. So that's one of our training props. That'll all be covered up underground. You can see the grade beams for the training facility there as well in the bottom of that picture. But that'll all be covered up, and we'll use that for confined space training. Like if we would have had somebody down in a manhole in the city somewhere, or any other, we can simulate various different things by doing that. And so by thinking ahead and putting that in now, while we've got all that dug up, that's going to be a neat feature to have moving forward. Picture on the right is nothing fancy. That's just the turn lane that we poured in along Monty Stratton. Here's an overhead picture of kind of what the site looks like today. We poured the slab for Building A, which is the Fire Administration building, and where the EOC will be as well. You can see that in that top right picture. Got the pad ready to pour for Building B, and that's when it started raining the other day. So as you notice, we don't have the flat work going all the way out there, so it's a challenge today to get the cement trucks to pour those pads. But we're getting really close to getting all that done. If you notice in the bottom left corner there, you've got the road going up to the facility. So now it's just a matter, if we can get about 2 or 3 more dry weeks, we can get all the rest of that flat work done, the rest of the drive done around the facility, and we can start pouring those slabs. And once we get to that point, it makes life a lot simpler as far as moving forward. But we were real fortunate this time of year to hold the rain off for a long time, and hopefully we can get a little bit more luck moving forward the next few weeks, and we'll get right back on track where we were. Just some closing notes here. We're about 20% complete with the construction. We anticipate going vertical hopefully this month. We were on target to go vertical next week, but now we've had, between the Thanksgiving holiday and then the rain right after it, that slowed us down quite a bit. But we still are on an anticipated completion date of October of 25. Any questions?
Thank
All
both
right.
of you for your update.
You bet. Thank
Good
y'all.
work you're doing for us. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we'll go into executive session. Let the record reflect it's 5:04. 6 o'clock.
Traffic stop. Man.
Steve got off the invocation. Yeah, thank you for being here tonight. Let the record reflect, it's about 6:03:04. I'll call this regular session of the Greenville City Council to order and ask Steve to offer the invocation. Please stand and remove your headgear if you have any.
Father God, we come to you today, Lord God. We thank you for this day, Father. We thank you for all that you're doing, Father. We ask that this Christmas time coming that we would open our hearts and be willing to share for those that Father just don't have, Father. That we would notice those things today and we try to make somebody else's day better. Father, we pray for our country, federal, state, county, and city. Father, I ask that you'd be with council tonight as they takes action on various things, that they would be for the good of the city. Father, we thank you for those citizens that showed up tonight that are concerned with that. And Father, we just thank you for all you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Steve. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. We have one presentation tonight on get it sweat here yet? Here?
No, I don't see it.
Would you like to receive this? Would you like to receive this? I asked him.
Yeah.
I think he was on the Okay. It's a proclamation about Martin Luther King Day.
Go ahead and get
Yes.
set.
Is he out there in the audience? I know he'd be in here if he was here, so anyway. Okay, this is a proclamation that proclaiming Martin Luther King Day. Whereas Martin Luther King devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and opportunity for all, and challenged all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. And whereas Dr. King's teachings can continue to guide and inspire us in addressing our challenges to our communities, and the King Holiday and Service Act, which was enacted in 1994, designated the King Holiday as a national holiday of volunteer service. Whereas since 1994, millions of Americans have been inspired by the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to serve their neighbors and communities on the King Holiday. And whereas serving on the King Holiday is an appropriate way to honor Dr. King, meet local and national needs, and bring our citizens together and strengthen our communities and our nation. Therefore, we do proclaim Martin Luther King Day, January 20th, 2025. And we're doing this tonight because it's a little bit in advance, but we won't be having a council meeting, it doesn't look like, on January the 14th. So that's why we're doing it early. And I'd like to present this to Councilman Freeman. Kenneth Sweat was going to be here, but
Yeah.
There you go. So,
All right.
would you like to say anything?
No, I'm just glad that we still have a long way to go to achieve what Dr. Martin Luther King wanted us to do. But in order to do that, we have to have a heart transplant. That's how you get to where he's talking about. If we get a heart transplant, we can get this done. But it's going to take all of us to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth. Coming tonight, I'd like to say, before we start the regular meeting, that again this past week, the death of Officer Jacob Candoza with the Otero Police Department reminds us of the dangers police officers face every day, putting their lives on the line to protect us. This happened on the heels of the tragic loss of Officer Cooper Dawson, our policeman here in Greenville. And as we honor their service and continue to express condolences to their family, their friends, and the fellow officers, we ask God to grant them peace and comfort. I never know what to say in these situations, I never do, but I would be remiss not to mention the memorial service for Officer Dawson, which was extraordinary in every way.
It was.
and particularly the comments of Police Chief Chris Smith. He's not here tonight. He's with Widow, but they were outstanding and extraordinary. And if you haven't seen them, I suppose they're on social media. If you weren't able to attend the service. So I encourage everyone to watch Chief Smith's comments, which were really heartrending. Our community has come together, and I think we'll gain strength through this tragic thing that happened to us. But I want to remind you to please keep their families in your thoughts and prayers during this holiday season. As such, I will be appointing Councilman Philip Spencer to chair a committee to develop a suitable memorial for Officer Dawson. In addition, I will ask Chief Smith or his designee, as well as a member of Officer Dawson's family, and one other council member to serve on the committee with Chairman Spencer. And I'll be doing that on the 14th, so if any council member would like to volunteer for this, you can contact me. But please do keep their families, the Terrell family and Officer Dawson's family, in your thoughts and prayers during this holiday season. Thank you. Now I'll turn your attention to two placeholders in the agenda: citizens to be heard and public testimony. Citizens, of course, to be heard on items that are not already scheduled for public hearing, or items that are not on the agenda. And of course, public testimony occurs when citizens are invited to address the council on items that are on the agenda, starting tonight with ordinances with 7A. So if you're interested in addressing the council on any of these issues, please present a citizen's comment card to the city secretary. And tonight we do have one public hearing, so I'll ask, are there citizens? Okay.
Donald Toohey.
Thank you. Please state your name and address.
My name's Donald Toohey. I live at 3402 Barney Lee Street, Greenville, Texas, 75402. Thank you, Your Honor, and council members, for letting me appear here before you tonight. I'm Donald Toohey. I live at 3402 Barney Lee Street and own a house at Barney Lee Street in Greenville, Texas, 75402. I added a problem on the City of Greenville website on October 21st that the street in the block area of 3401 to 3404 is in very deterioration condition. It has sunken down and cracked, some of the surface is missing. There's a hole there, and when it rains, it holds water. It can be a mosquito breeding place. Since that time, no one has contacted me. I have not come out or viewed it or repaired it. Early in the year, they did come out and repaired an area at Bonnie Lee and Sale Street. I'm hoping this problem can be repaired. I have pictures of the area that I would leave with you and a copy of the letters that acknowledges the receipt of this problem. Thank you for letting me speak to you. Thank you for all you do for the City of Greenville. I've signed this. I have my address, phone number, email, and all. And I know the street department's busy, but this street, it really needs to be looked at. And my neighbors are around there. It's sunken so bad, the drainage on the curb is at a 90-degree angle instead of being flat. And so, I mean, it's something that...
The city secretary, and I'm sure someone will reach out. Your telephone number in that?
I know you all can't act on it or do anything, but I just appreciate any help that, that the city would do for it.
We'll try
I
to
know.
get some attention there.
I know.
Thank you very much.
But again, thank you, and I would leave this with you.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Yes, sir.
No other citizens? Okay. Okay, then we'll move on to item 6A, which is to hold a public hearing to discuss and consider a request by John Bartell for a change in zoning details of single family attached.
You got me? I hadn't figured this out yet. Okay. Yes, sir, this property is on Robert Street, right behind, which is one street off of Wesley, right behind, there's a little strip center there, and then Watkins and Perkins Law Office is there also. This is one piece of property. It's actually owned by Cliff Jones. We have not replatted it yet, but you'll see that green line up there. What he wants to do on the bigger track, we want to change the zoning of that. Currently, it is general retail zoning. Obviously, a lot of that property back there is not gonna, it doesn't fare well for that kind of use, especially off of Wesley, off the main drag. It's been vacant as long as I've been here, so I just don't, he's got a use for it though. But on the big track, he wants to build single-family attached homes. So those will actually be on separate lots. But they're the attached homes with the garages. Each one of them have their own garage, own drive, own water meter, electric meter, sewer, and all that. So that particular, the big site, we want to change the zoning to single-family attached. The smaller part, you can't do a whole lot with it. He wants to build a duplex. Now, the zone on this property, on the bottom side is general retail. To the left side of that property is general retail. Across the street is multifamily. And then across the northern part, north side of the street is zone single family too. So we got a hodgepodge down there. We built some brand new, you can see the driveways on the top of the screen there of some brand new duplexes we built. It kind of lends to what we're doing here. I don't think the property will ever function as general retail unless maybe somebody wanted to build an office or not. I don't think that would be the case here. Matter of fact, this is the first time I've ever talked to anybody about doing anything with it since I've been here. So we sent out 19 letters to property owners around it. I only got one back, and of course it was from Dan and Watkins. They just didn't feel like the general retail use, changing it didn't fit their plans. I don't know what their plans were for the property, but they felt like it ought to stay general retail. But I think we need to do something with it. We got an opportunity to put something on it. Cliff will build it. So I took it to P&Z last month. And after a little bit of discussion, they voted unanimously to recommend approval of the zoning change. We didn't want to do the plating now until we knew we were going to get the zoning, so that'll come up later. But so we're looking for basically single family attached on track 1 and 2F, which is 2 family for a duplex on track 2. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
The green line is dividing where the proposed plats would be, right?
I'm sorry.
The green line divides the proposed plats?
Correct.
And the smaller of the one would be 2F?
That'd be one duplex there. The bigger tract would be cut north to south.
Yep.
You know how single family attached, you know how that goes. So that's what
would the alleyway come in along the green line there? Or the driveway to get to garages? Or would the garages open out to, what's that street? Webb?
Yep.
Alene.
You'd have 5 driveways that led into Alene. The only thing about that's not a heavily traveled road either. It's not.
Right.
You don't see
driveways.
Nobody's really flipping over there to go to sale. That's not the main drag. So there's not a lot of traffic in the area.
Is there a way to do it with an alley instead of 5 driveways?
Possibly, but you'd have to plat in a access easement because each one of those lots would be from property line to property line.
I mean, you can figure that out with him. And just 5 driveways is a lot.
Yeah, that's a possibility, but that's how you do it. Now, if it was townhomes, you could just do a parking lot, but this is not going to be rental property. These will be for sale units.
Okay.
I don't know if there's enough room there for that because of the turnaround for the fire truck. I don't know if it has to get into the access easement or not.
Yeah, I don't know either.
That probably wouldn't be
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be an issue as long as we can get a hose lay of 150 foot to the furthest part, and you got access off it. That wouldn't be an issue, that part. But the fact that they're single family attached, they have to be sprinkled also. So.
Any other questions?
Is the duplex going to be facing Roberts?
Correct. Yeah, the duplex will be facing Roberts, and the single family attached will be facing Alene.
How much frontage on that smaller part?
Well, it doesn't show it there, but it's about 70 or 80 foot. It's really a great big lot for one duplex, but he couldn't really come up. There's and we looked at it different ways, try to build a road and there and all, we just couldn't, this was the best thing we could come up with.
Any other questions? Thank you, Steve.
Yes, sir.
The applicant's not here tonight. I don't know what else he could add.
Actually, Cliff didn't show up for that. He had John Berthall, who works for, Kayla, help me. Yeah, MTG Stovall. He actually presented the case. Cliff didn't do it, but.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone like to speak in favor of this zoning change? If not, is there anyone like to speak in opposition to it? If not, I'll close the public hearing. What is the pleasure of the council regarding this item 6A?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Please vote. And it passes. Let the record reflect that Mr. Cruz, Councilman Cruz is not here tonight. Ordinances, item 7A, consideration action on the ordinance of the City of Greenville, Texas, ordering a general election to elect members to place 1 and place 2 on May 3rd of 2025. I don't know that needs a description. Is there any comments for the council? Anything from the council? Okay. Are there, just ask, is there any public testimony tonight? Okay, I won't ask for that anymore. So what is the pleasure of the council regarding this item 7A?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay. Motion.
Second.
Second, please vote. And it passes 6-0. Item 8A, consider adoption of a resolution appointing and reappointing persons to serve on the Greenville Board of Development and naming a chairman. They're required to, this council's required to name a chairman each year. That is included in this resolution. And I think, is there a motion regarding this?
Yes, sir.
That one's not included in that.
It's not in this package, but I do make a motion to, after our reviews, to reappoint Sean Franklin and Barry Gluck onto the board, back to the Board of Development, and also appoint Holly Gray as.
Second. Motion second, please vote. And that passes 6-0. Item 8B, consideration and action on a resolution authorizing additional services amendment to the professional services agreement with Barker Rinker CCAT. Brett?
Yes, Mayor, Council, good evening. So what this is as part of the bond project, we were able to get the event lawn in there, which is great. And what we're wanting to do is kind of capitalize on the construction on site and being able to add a permanent stage, 30 by 40 stage there. And it would be kind of on the far right side of the event lawn on the photo, facing the center itself. And what it would do is it would encourage regular concert series, movie in the parks. It would give us a venue to do that. And the $85,450 would actually be paid out of the 22-23 CO bond that was approved for $150,000. And so that portion would be paid for that. And then what we would look to do is couple up parkland dedication to complete the project. We feel like we can have it built in the $400,000 to $500,000 range. So. And what this would do is give us the design ground ready, put us ahead. That way at the end of the project, when it's ready, we can go ahead and have them construct it while they're here. So.
Okay, are there any questions for Brett? If not, what is the pleasure of the council regarding this item B, 8B?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, please vote. Passes 6-0. Item 8C, consideration and action on a resolution of the City Council of the City of Greenville, Texas, casting its votes for a nominee for membership of the Board of Directors of the Hunt County Appraisal District. Summer?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. If you remember, a couple meetings ago, you, the City Council, nominated Howard Winans to be your representative. He served on the board for us for several years now, and so now's the time to actually cast your votes. And so for the City of Greenville, we've got 475 votes to cast towards Mr. Winan being on the Board of Directors for the Appraisal District.
Any questions? If not, is there a motion regarding this item 8C?
Make a motion to approve.
Please vote. Item 8C passes 6-0. Consideration action on a resolution authorizing the approval of hot tax funds for 2024-25. Stacy?
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
I'm good. If you recall, you designated $50,000 of the hotel occupancy tax funds to be granted to different programs or groups that draw tourism events here in town. And we had 4 applicants, the Audie Murphy American Cotton Museum, the North Texas Fishing Lure and Tackle Show, the Rotary Club's Cotton Patch Challenge, and Greenville Antique Car Club all applied. And the Tourism and Convention Advisory Board met, and on page 3, if I'm assuming you have the same thing, shows their recommendation of distributing the funds to those 4 groups. And so if you have any questions or...
Any questions for Stacy? You want to read those? Just for the
Oh,
record?
sure. So Audie Murphy American Cotton Museum requested $38,500, and they were granted $30,000. The North Texas Antique Fishing Lure and Tackle Show requested $10,000, and it was suggested they get 5. The Cotton Patch Challenge requested $20,000, and they were suggested $14,000, and the Antique Car Club asked for $2,000 and got $1,000.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Not?
All very deserving.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Is there a motion regarding this item?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Stacy. Your second?
Second.
Please vote. And it passes 6-0. Item 8E, consideration action on a resolution authorizing the lease purchase of a 2026 Pierce Rescue Pumper.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Appreciate the opportunity tonight. What we're bringing before you is a proposal to enter into a lease agreement with Leasing 2 Incorporated for the replacement of Fire Apparatus Rescue 4. Normally, we like to replace our engines anywhere from 10 to 15 years of service life. I try to lean towards that 15-year if at all possible. Now, in this particular circumstance, we're trying to take advantage of a couple of things. We entered into some talks with Pierce last year about the possibility of replacing a fire engine, and they basically held us a placeholder. And if you remember with our last platform, there's quite a bit of lead time on these fire apparatus anymore, almost up to, it was almost 2.5 years, I think, is what it was on the last platform. In this particular case wouldn't be any different. However, since we had that placeholder, we're kind of already in line. That, along with the fact that if we order the 2026 version, we fall under current EPA guidelines for the motor, and that itself will save us about $80,000. So even though I'd like to extend this out a little bit longer, normally those particular circumstances, along with, we really feel like when we sell this apparatus, we're selling it, it's in a, I guess, a younger part of its life. I believe we're going to get more money out of it. Usually we only get pennies on the dollar when we sell these, anywhere from around 50,000. I think with the condition of this truck, we may have an opportunity here to get something, I would think hopefully around 200 to 250,000 back. So there's several good reasons to do it. Normally I like to hang on to the fire trucks a little bit longer because they're such a big purchase. But in this case, we kind of talked about the pluses of pulling the trigger earlier, and so we decided to go this route. So, any questions on that? And I will elaborate. I didn't say this. We're paying for it with the pay-as-you-go funding that we've already set aside for this very specific purchase. So,
thank you, Chief.
all right. Thank you.
There are no questions.
What was the total amount? I'm sorry, he said, I'm sure, and I didn't hear.
I didn't. I don't believe I did.
Oh, okay.
It was 1.174
Okay,
for this one.
okay.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the council regarding this?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and second, please vote. And it passes 6-0. Item 8F, consideration action on a resolution authorizing the purchase of 8,750 linear feet of 36-inch pipe, fusible pipe for the raw water line project, etc. Summer.
Mayor, as you guys recall, we're currently, which I'll update you on the status report with the raw water line project. We pre-purchased all of that piping, which was to our advantage cost-wise, also getting us in line for that purchase. So we've been discussing, staff has been discussing not only with Underground Solutions, but also with our consultant about ensuring for the future if we, once we have the new raw water line in place, we have the new water treatment plant on the south side of town, that if anything ever happens between the reservoirs or the raw water line or either plant, that we have some redundancy. And so what that means is being able to loop in all of the reservoirs with both plants, the old reservoirs, new reservoirs, the old reservoirs to the new plants and vice versa. So everything's looped together. So if we get in a situation where we cannot use the reservoirs to be able to treat water to our plant, we can use it from the raw water line. And so what this is asking council to pre-approve the purchase of the pipe to enable us to, for a phase 1 of this project. So phase 1 is going to be connecting the raw water line to the new water treatment plant. And purchasing that pipe. And then also at the Reservoir 5, which with Robert and his crew, they use Reservoir 4 and 5 together to be able to send our raw water to treat it to the plant. And so in order to, we're going to have a new intake at 5 with the new raw water line. And so that this purchase includes that part, that stretch of pipe that we will need there, which is 36-inch fusible. And then also in the discussions of that, Robert and his staff discovered that between Reservoir 5 and the new water treatment plant, the current the current 36-inch line that we have there has 3 breaks in it. So that will be a replacement of that pipe, which is a stretch of a little over 1,200 linear feet. So we spoke to Sean, who he is here in the audience. If you have any questions about the pricing that we can get right now is just a little over $300 per linear foot, which is the least expensive pipe that we've received since we started this project. So we felt like now was the time for number 1 to go ahead and get this phase 1 completed. The funding will come from the raw water line project. We've earned interest with that project, and so we have a sufficient amount of interest. We've worked that through the budget with GP, and so we have the funding to do that, so we wanted to go ahead and purchase that. The second part of that's going to be, this stretch that we're purchasing now is a little over $2 million. The next stretch, which I'm going to call phase 2, is a little over, or at this point in time with the pricing we have now, is about a little over $8 million just for the pipe, because that's a 4-mile stretch from the north side of town at Reservoir 5 down to the south water treatment plant. So I'll come back to council asking for that as a part of the 2026 bond issue, which will fit into the timing to be able to hopefully open the plant in 2027 or hope early 2028 is the plan. So tonight is just purchasing the pipe and getting us in line with the extruders to be able to purchase that. So on top of that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and Sean is here as well to answer any
Any
questions.
questions for Summer or Sean? I think it's a great plan. So. Absolutely great plan. We're putting our water infrastructure in place for service for the next 30 or 40 or we're lucky 50. With all this work we're doing. It's extraordinary, really, because many cities struggling with water right now. Many cities don't have water. So we have water. We're preparing to process it for our citizens. Make it available. So, anyway. Any questions for Sean? He's in the back there waiting for a question. I'm sure he came all the way over here.
Gonna get us that discount you usually get us? Wanted to answer one question.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for having me. Actually, yes, we are discounting. If you look at the year ago pricing, and it's not really us, it's the market. It's the market pricing. Market across the board in the utility market, we've seen a lot of pipe pricing. You know how everything was elevated, has come down around 10%. Is where it's come down. We were able to go to the table and negotiate and get it down to about 19-20% discount. So yes, the answer is yes. So. Anything else?
What's the multiple for installing this? Is there any way you can do that?
What's that?
She's saying roughly $300 a linear foot is what you estimated. What to get in the ground? Do you have just a rule of thumb estimate about what it will cost?
Well, for this job, we've got pretty good. I mean, we've got hard numbers for this project because you're installing 100,000 feet of it right now. So using those numbers, I would use those numbers as a safe estimate for sure. And as you guys know, as Summer had mentioned, and great explanation in terms of the purpose of pulling the trigger is right now, as you know, you have being made. So it's best to tag that on to the back end. There's where the discounts come in and get it on the line. It's a lot cheaper to run pipe while it's continuing to run versus shutting a line down, then revamping it at a later date for a small quantity. So, yeah, definitely a good time to pull the trigger.
Sean, it's a pleasure working with you.
You guys too. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you very
much.
Thank you. What is there a motion regarding this item?
I move that we approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote. Thank you very much. Yeah. And it passes you 6-0. Items 8G, consideration action on a resolution approving bids with No Dig Tech LLC for the replacement of 3 sewer mains. Chris? Oh, it's not Chris.
That's all right. I'm filling in.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Seeking approval to replace 3 sewer trunk mains by the pipe bursting method. The reason we are seeking to do this is because these are the trunk mains that feed into our 2 larger lift stations at Walmart and Grand Park. And we see significant amounts of inflow and infiltration because it's just deteriorated over the years and it's in very poor condition. And so by doing this, it eliminates that I&I, which adds loads to our sewer. We have to pump out, then also the treatment plant has to treat when it's not necessary.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Is this a budgeted item or outside the norm?
It was budgeted in the capital projects, wasn't it?
Yes, that's correct. So the Walmart sewer main was actually budgeted in the previous budget year. So that carried through in a project, and that one was at $200,000. The Main Street and Bliss, so Main Street was budgeted in the CIP, just in the regular budget, not in any bond or anything. $375,000, and then the Bliss Street was $200,000. And then all that together was $775,000 total. They were able to get it through a TIPS contract, which ended up being $766,000, so it was below budget.
Good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Is there a motion regarding this item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Please vote. And that passes 6-0. Consideration on a resolution approving an increase to the purchase order and approval of a change order related to the purchase of meter materials.
It's just that, it's just an increase in a PO and a change order and other associated POs for water meter, other meter materials, stuff like that.
How's our meter rollout going? How are we?
Right now, we've been doing that pilot program with Neptune, and we have about 1,300 meters in place right now that we can drive by and collect, and we do it every Thursday. We have 4 cycles, and we've been doing that for about 2 months now with juice, and everything looks very promising. There's hardly any issue that we have, and it's also been beneficial when customers want to know more about their bill, about their consumption. The meters are set to take a reading and store it every hour for 94 days. So if they got a bill that they think's a little high or just have any question in general, we're able to provide them an hourly readout for those 96 days or that last month, 2 months, however, so they can actually see when it was used and what time during the day it was used. So everything is looking good. And I'm also talking with Corn Main, who we buy the meters from. They're doing a propagation study to look at what it would look like to move to doing it citywide, and that's something that we'll discuss with Chris and Summer down the road. But right now, as far as the pilot program is going, it's looking very successful, and we're very happy with the results.
Is that an app that the citizens can look at and see what their utilization is? It's not in real time, I guess you're saying, right?
It can be in real time. Ultimately, we'd like to have it all read by a satellite, so the billing department
sure.
can push a button and there's the reading.
Well, that's what I thought it is. In certain areas, it is real time, right?
As soon as we read it, that's the readout right there. It won't be a day behind or a week behind.
Apps that do real time, is that
Yes.
right? And that's with Neptune?
And that's kind of the end goal, is to have a portal for all the customers to go on there and be able to look at their reads, and it will take one every hour.
Okay.
So Mayor, with the drive-by method that he was talking about, that will kind of work out all the kinks
Understand.
from the reading to the billing cycle. So then we can institute the satellite method, and then hopefully that will go a lot smoother. That's why we wanted to do that pilot with the 1,300 meters, and then get those outlying areas as well. And then that way we could have real-time data, or at least an hour delayed, or whenever they needed to read it, as opposed to the drive-by. So that's really why, from the network standpoint and that going forward to the billing standpoint, as we really wanted to work out all those kinks first.
Sure.
So that's why we started with the drive-by and
But I know,
not
I
with the
think
full-out satellite.
a couple of TML meetings ago, there was a presentation by the city of Jacksonville, or he had been the city manager. During Winter Storm Uri, they were able to isolate leaks down to almost a home to determine how much was leaking at each, if there were leaks at each home or whatever,
Correct.
and then mitigate that. So I'm hopeful that we get to
We can
real
get
time
there,
where
yeah.
citizens can. Thank you, great work.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So,
I appreciate it, thank you.
okay, is there a motion regarding this item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Vote. And that item passes 6-0. Item 8I, consideration action on a resolution authorizing lease agreements between the City of Greenville and future tenants for T-hangars located at Majors Field. Summer?
Yeah, Mayor, as you know, back in April, the city had a lease agreement with Blue Sky Holdings. That lease expired. Blue Sky Holdings was subleasing those to the individual tenants of those hangars. So the city took over the leasing of that with those individual leases. And so what the city did from April until the end of December, we agreed with them because the majority of those paid in a yearly annual installment. So we let them pay up until the end of December, or until they had agreed with the previous, the subleaser. And so now is the time, January 1, we'd like to renew those leases. And so what we needed to do was create a T-hanger lease, a general lease that we could bring to you guys as city council on one occasion, and then authorize me to enter into those leases with each individual tenant, because we have, I think, 14 individual tenants. And so instead of bringing 14 separate leases to you, we wanted to do a single lease. Daniel has been working with L3, and we will get this approved through their legal, since this is in their option area, that they have exercised that option. And so just moving forward, this is a general lease. It has the fees from a T-hanger lease that you guys approved in the October 1 budget. So it has that included in here, and anything else that pertained to the grant assurances or anything that Daniel felt needed included in that lease. But that's an overarching lease that we can use for each individual tenant. And GP and his staff will help me start entering into those leases January 1, and then moving forward with any future tenants that we could have out at for T-hangers. This would be for T-hangers only.
T-hangers only.
Yes, correct.
Okay, are there any questions regarding?
I have a question. You pay fully in 1 year, you get a discount. Does that, if it's...
We do not offer a you guys did not approve that in the fee schedule to get a discount if you paid for a full year. That's for tie-down spaces. That's for tie-downs, not for T-hangers. Yeah, sorry. I had to get where you were looking at, but no, that's for tie-downs. Yeah, and then if you go down a little bit, the T-hangers monthly would be $350, and we didn't put any, yeah. So that would, paying per annual would be for a tie-down spot, which is not covered. So, and single engine and multi-engine are a little different on that one. So, yeah, that's the difference in that. But that was what was approved.
Any other questions? Okay, what is the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Please vote. And it passes 6-0. Item 8J will be postponed until 28th of January 2025. Item K is consideration and action on a resolution approving a pre-annexation development agreement between Chelsea Building Products. Daniel?
All right, this is a pre-annexation agreement. This is out in the industrial park. Chelsea Building Products is a PVC plastic pipe extruder. They plan to double the size of their footprint, but the building area straddles the city and county line. And so this agreement, if you approved it, would move the property into an annexation setting. That would be done by approving this agreement. If both sides approve it, this is the request to start the annexation process. We have included basically what happens for the first 7 years in here. There's a 7-year period that's included in this agreement. But basically, this would have a 10-year 50% property tax revenue rebate, a 380 agreement type of incentive along with the annexation. The city basically would get the 50% value of the property that otherwise wouldn't be there, and the other tax payments that come along with that. The city, if we move forward with this agreement, would be required to upgrade Walter Gritty Drive at the right time. And there's a lot of different time frames in here because it's not clear when the construction would start or when it would be complete, but they're all tied to those two dates. The initial date would be upon approval by both sides, which I expect if the council approves this tonight, the other side would approve it very quickly. Mark Ammer is here in the audience with Chelsea, and he can answer any questions that you guys might have about what their plans are. This agreement was negotiated between the city's development attorney, Julie Ford, and Chelsea's attorney. And they finished up all the fine tuning this afternoon. This is the agreement that we talked a little bit about a month ago. Chelsea has made all the changes that we requested and taken out certain parts, added other parts in. Basically, if this is approved, that 380 grant doesn't have to come back to the council again. The city would take over maintenance or would change the maintenance schedule of that road, which is due north of the project the OK Stone project that is no longer moving forward. We were already going to do that road and stop those plans when that other project fell through. This would effectively be, it would go through planning and zoning as if this was a PD, but with the light industrial zoning standard. It's already obviously being used for industrial purposes out there, so that's not anything different or basically anything besides light industrial would be strange for that area, which is currently zoned ag, the new area. Otherwise, the 50% 380 agreement would start whenever the project is completed, and there's a 7-year basically freeze on future development costs for triggered costs like impact fees that basically hold that in place for a few years after this. That's one feature that we haven't really done before, but makes sense in compared to talking about what we're doing here, because it doesn't open it, keep that frozen for a long period of time. It's a 7-year period. Otherwise, this is in line with the city's policies for other economic developments, development packages that we've entered into, and there's no significant downsides for the city in the agreement as drafted. And Mark can answer any questions for the company if you have any.
Are there any questions for Daniel? Chelsea? Apparently there are no questions, so thank you for being here. Okay, since there's no public testimony, what is the pleasure of the council regarding this item?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Okay.
Please vote. And that passes 6-0. Resolution 8L, consideration action on resolutions appointing and reappointing persons to fill positions and appointing chairpersons to Civil Service Commission, Main Street Advisory Board, Tax TERS Board, and Tourism Convention Advisory Board. Is there a motion regarding this item?
Yes, Mayor. As you're well aware yourself, Councilman Collins and I met approximately a month ago, and I'll go down through a list of the reappointees and the different areas that are going to be in charge of. For the TERS, I should say tax increment reinvestment zone, those that don't know what TERS stands for, In place 2, Randy Tarpley is a reappoint with an expiration of 12/31/2026. And we've asked Sue Ann Harding, and she has accepted to be the chair, once again, of the TERS board. Main Street Advisory Board, in place 1, Deanna Bates is reappoint. Term expires 12/31/27. Place 2, Arlen McCroskey is a reappoint. Same termination date, 12/31/27. And place 3, Natalie Pegg, same expiration, 12/31/27. Chairperson for Main Street will be Robert Hall. Following person is reappointed position of Civil Service Commission. Place 1, Tim Dooley, that's a reappoint, with an expiration date of December 31st, 2027. And the chair, again, is Tim Dooley, expiration December 31st, is that right? That date? 5? That's not right. That's misprint. That should be 20. For the chair, I'm sorry, chair only. Yeah, okay. And Mayor, I have one more here, Mayor. For the Tourism Board, place 4, Mike Woodruff. Term expires December 31st, 2027. And place 5 is Jim Satterwhite. Term expires December 31st, 2020. And the current chair, Patty Donahoe, has accepted reappointment, and her appointment expires December 31st, 2025.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think you should correct that. I believe that's Misty Woodruff, not mine.
I'm sorry. I need to wear my glasses.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Okay. So what is the pleasure? Did you have a comment? Okay.
We need
Okay.
I was the
Sorry.
motion.
That was a motion. Second.
Second.
Thank you for helping. Okay, and it passes 6-0. I'd like to ask the city secretary to read the consent calendar, please. The extensive consent calendar.
City Council meeting minutes from November 12th.
Thank you for being here tonight, guys.
Resolution approving participation in statewide opioid settlement with Kroger. Resolution approving furniture purchase for the new fire admin training facility from Plano Office Supply. Resolution authorizing the purchase of books from Ingram Library Services. Resolution approving a convention appearance contracts with Anthony Bowling and Celeste Perez for the LitCon 2025. Resolution authorizing an agreement for the purchase of Esri for GIS through Sole Source. Resolution approving an increase to existing core and main purchase order for purchase of additional Neptune meters and accessories, and a resolution approving an agreement with Triumvirate Environmental to provide disposal services for household hazardous waste, and consideration and action to cancel the January 14th, 2025 City Council meeting minute.
Okay, are there any questions regarding any of these items? Any comments? If not, what is the pleasure of the council regarding these items?
I make a motion that we approve the consent calendar.
Please vote. Okay, and it passes 6-0. City staff, city council reports, monthly status reports.
Thank you, Mayor. This will be for the month of October, since we only had one meeting in November and one meeting in December. So we'll get caught back up in the month of January. Well, no, we won't get caught back. We'll get caught up in February, since we only have one meeting in January. So this will be for October, so just keep that in mind. So the contractor utility cuts for October 2024 were very similar to September. They were 16. This is by the contractor who we hire out. We hire those out. Pothole repairs for October were 170, up from 131 in September.
Street sweeping.
Can we pause on that for just a sec?
Mm-hmm.
It shows a pretty substantial uptrend, at least since, July? Is that because of availability of materials, or is there more damage to the roads, or what do you think
Probably,
is going on there?
I would have to ask Chris or Benny with streets. I mean, if you look at March, it's 150 down to 78 to 103. I would rain probably. I mean, weather factors into that. I mean, obviously, when it rains more, potholes become worse, and so they become more of an issue. Whereas if it didn't rain, availability of asphalt as it gets colder, or hot mix as it gets colder. We do have cold mix that we use. They don't like to use that a whole lot for continual repairs. It's substantially more expensive, but we do use it when we do need it if there's something that's substantial. So, I mean, it's kind of an up and down trend.
Well, if you look from like September 23, there are some spikes there, but the trend is up.
Honestly, I mean, we contracted out less. We haven't been using. We did. I mean, for a time being there, we were in the street improvement bond, so we were working, contractors were working on that for us, so, we took some of those streets out of it. We've gotten more traffic on some streets, and then, things pop up on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
And I think just some more attention has been paid to it, more resources towards that. Because we have been able to utilize the contractors as far as for the bigger jobs.
Right.
And so
right.
we can concentrate more. So I think
That makes
more than
sense.
anything, utilizing those contractors for the bigger jobs has allowed us to concentrate on the potholes. So I think it's many factors. I can't really nail it down to just one.
Okay.
So I think it's a combination of all that. But we'll keep an eye out and, kind of keep those trends and see.
Okay.
And then also Tim, which he's not here tonight, but asked to have the street projects added to the status update. I'm going to start doing that in January, just to give you kind of the street projects that you guys have approved. We don't have any bond projects, obviously, but there's been, there's $750,000 that's that you guys have budgeted for just the regular maintenance. So just those streets, I'll start updating. Like currently, we have Henry Street that's being repaired. Through Walnut Street, we had done a couple things there that we brought to you guys, and so I'll add those to the end of the report as well. So that'll help give you a better idea of that. Street sweeping miles for the month of October were 369 miles, which there's a couple of trends in there. Just depends on if events are going on or things like that. Then he'll be able to do that. Or if events are not going on, he's able to street sweep a lot more because he's not helping on the traffic side. Now, you guys have hired a traffic maintenance technician to help out with Keith and the traffic foreman, so that should free up Victor to be able to do a lot more street sweeping. The mowed areas from October 16th to November 15th, they got about 70% of those. Those are the normal areas, the high areas that they concentrate on. Line of sight was pretty similar. That trend stayed. Last month it was at 11. This month it was at 12. Signs replaced were 42. Also included in that number is also any new street signs that he's included for any new subdivision, new roads, and things like that. So that we include that. I should change the title of that.
Summer, excuse me, when we're going to get those signs from Warren that speed limit?
I do not. They're on order. I can check with Keith tomorrow. I don't know a specific date, but he has ordered those, so we're just waiting for those to come in so that he can make those signs. So he's just waiting for the materials. So he can also change the additional ones on Roy Warren, and then the extension that goes all the way down to Bethel, those need speed limit signs. So he's just waiting for the materials at this point. Building permits issued were down in October from 29 in September to 20. And then COs kind of the same trend, down from 27 to 21. I don't know that that's anything to be concerned about. After talking with Steve and his group, things kind of ramped down. If the leading up to September and October, we're leading up to the election. So I think some things were put on pause for a little while. But from everything that Steve has indicated, I don't think that number's gonna stay down that low. And then especially after the holidays too. The holidays start ramping back up again if you'll look in January and February, March in those areas. Traffic citations issued were 143 in the month of October. I'm going to assume that would be up in the month of November with Traffic Safety Awareness Month, so we'll see how that number trends out. And then the raw water line, we talked a little bit about this, all the pre-purchase that you guys done, but that last bullet point there, it's been installed in the ground halfway, so we're halfway. They're staging pipe across Highway 69 right behind Mallard Point, and so that project is going well. Even with the rain that Robert talked about, we're not in the low-lying areas anymore like we were down on the north side of the project. On the north side of the project, so we're still moving forward with that. We have not had any issues that we're aware of, so everything, we did have an update with the contractor. Cost is going, there's been some change orders, but those have all netted out and nothing has increased. So if I'll be happy to answer any questions. All right, thank you.
I was just curious, when you mentioned the citations, did that include the mayor's most recent citation?
I'm not going to comment on that, so I'll let you talk to the chief about that.
We know there's at least one in November.
I'll let you talk to the chief about that one.
I had to talk to Summer, I had to talk to the police officer. The worst thing was talking to my wife, who was riding shotgun. So. Okay, any items of council discussion for proposed discussion or proposed agenda items?
Yes, Mayor. I would like to make sure that on the next agenda, we have a resolution for authorizing a purchase and installation of a fire gate on Cheltenham. That's something we voted on September 27th, 2022, and it hasn't happened. And I want to make sure that happens.
Okay. I think it will be. I'm a little concerned about food trucks, and I don't know if there's any metric we can develop about permits or permitting or whatever, how much sales tax we're generating from those. I'd like to either discuss that, or maybe the staff can look at some metrics we can use to measure what's going on there.
Would you like to meet with the subcommittee that set up those guidelines? Or you want staff to just bring it to council, or?
Either way.
Because there was a subcommittee, Ben.
Me and Terry and
Yeah,
TJ.
and Terry and TJ put those guidelines together,
I'll be
so.
happy to meet with them at some point.
So, if we can go back and revisit those guidelines, and those discussions that we had with them, we certainly
Okay.
could. Okay.
Any other issues?
Yes, sir, I have a couple if you don't mind. Recently, I sent some photos, I think just to you and the city manager, but our library has become inundated with homeless people sleeping inside the library. I mean, when you go there at 10 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock when they open, we've got a lot of people waiting just to get inside the building, and that's to clean up the restrooms and things like that. But I went by twice in the last probably 3 weeks and took pictures in the afternoon of 5 individuals sleeping in the library at one time. And Summer and I have talked about this, but it is a public place and there's not a lot we can do. John does a very good job of monitoring what's going on in there, but his job is not to police up people that don't have a place to go. My concern is there was an email sent by a gentleman, I don't know, and I can't recall if the council members got it or not, but a gentleman and his wife and children were kind of intimidated by a homeless person in there that was acting kind of odd, weird, and scared them. And he wasn't going to bring the family back to the library anymore. So my concern is, what can we do to clean that up or reduce? You know, if they're in there looking at books or studying or doing something like that, that's one. That's not a hotel. It's not not sleeping arrangement. So I would like for us to somehow discuss that at more length. Second thing is, it does seem like 2 years, but came up with a great idea about downtown revitalization. And of course, it stalled a little bit because of other priorities that we're working on. We've made a little progress with that, but it's kind of stalled now. I'm curious, and I haven't heard or seen any activity from Main Street or is Main Street, my question is, Main Street Department doing anything to help move the downtown revitalization as far as, I remember when we would get briefings from Doyle about facades and different money that was given by the Board of Development to upgrade things downtown. I haven't seen any briefings in over a year and a half. So I would like to kind of get an update maybe from Main Street, what they're involved in right now to help downtown.
Maybe summarize the last few meetings. I mean, we have their minutes, but
Yeah.
give some highlights maybe.
Yeah. I just don't have any issue or
Mhm.
transparency. Appreciate that.
Okay, are there any other items? Any other council? Or have any other items? Not, you have the boards and commission minutes for Parks and Rec, Main Street, Board of Development meetings, and Keep Greenville Beautiful. And we've already been in executive session, so I will glad to wish everybody Merry Christmas, have safe and happy holidays, and we're adjourned. Thank you very much.